Okay, we're here today with Blair Kelly, and he is a agility judge with AKC, and he's a certified volunteer measuring official. Go ahead, Blair, introduce yourself.
Oh, as Michelle said, my name is Blair Kelly. I've been an agility judge since 2000. I was read in as a measuring official in 2007, and I've been measuring dogs ever since. Do a fairly decent job. Okay. So, first thing, I want to sort of walk through the process of how to do measuring. So, the first process I want to do is talking about where you want to do your measurement. Now in agility, we always tend to do it on an agility table, which is what I'm sitting on. And many times, the agility tables can be varied in height. I personally like it when it's a height like about this, something, because I like to sit next to the dog when I do a measurement. You don't want to be leaning over a dog when you're doing a measurement, because that's just going to make the dog uncomfortable. So I try to do it where I'm going to be next to the dog. But you want it to be a nice surface, you want it to be a level surface, because if it's not level, you're not going to get an accurate measurement. On very rare occasions, I've actually done it on the ground, but usually that's situations where I have a really gigantic dog. I'm having a really problem just staying on the table. So there have been a few cases where dogs have been very nervous on the table because there's been a lot of activity, and many times we've just gone around the corner and found a quiet spot and sometimes do the measurement there. But most of the time, it's on the measuring table. But the really first important thing, let me put this one away. First thing about measuring is you gotta look at your wicket, your equipment. So here's a measuring wicket. There are lots of different types of wickets we've had over the years. I remember way back when we actually used to have the PVC, and we just used to drop them on the withers. And if it was underneath that, then you were in the right jump height. But AKC went and started to go to a more thing where they wanted accurate measurements. So companies came along with these measuring devices. And the first thing I always have to do when I reach a trial site is set it up. And so I set the legs out. I want to make sure it's nice and level. I want to make sure that things are not going to be moving around too much. You also have to make sure that the wing on this thing is in the proper orientation. It's got to be level on this side. Sometimes you'll actually see it like this, and that gives you really inaccurate measurements. So you really want to make sure that it's set like this. The other thing I really like when I see a measuring device is I want it to be able to slide easily. Because what's going to happen is, I don't want to have, if it's sticky, like sometimes you get sticky wickets, you're trying to force it down. You have a very bad chance of actually forcing it down on the dog. And that can actually be very uncomfortable for the dog, give them a bad experience. If you can have it so you can just sort of let it drop by itself, you don't want it to make too much noise. And the way you can fix this, if it's a problem, is you can either take some sandpaper on the inside of this stuff in here and sandpaper it out, or some people will actually put silicone gel on this to make it slide nicely. You want it to be able to slide very easily. Basically, if I can just lift it with my finger, I'd like it to drop without too much noise, or as little noise as possible. Okay. So that's the first thing. Now, different measuring officials have different ways they like to set things up. I like to set it up, I'm a righty, right-handed, so I usually like to set it up so the dog's going to come up over on this side over here, my right-hand side.
Change this.
And I want the big long leg, so the dogs are their front legs right in the front. And the other thing I want to do is a very important thing, and that is always measure and make sure that it's calibrated correctly. And I'm looking for it to be approximately 12 inches. And in a pinch, if you don't have a ruler or something, you can use a piece of paper, roll it up, and that's exactly 8 inches tall. But the other thing that's important is anytime I walk away from this and then come back to measure a dog, I always remeasure it, because people come up and they play with these things and practice with their dog, and we ask them to, but unfortunately they will fiddle with it, move it around, and adjust it to where they think it should be, and unfortunately that can make it be inaccurate. So I always recheck it once I'm coming back to it. And you're supposed to look at it from various sides. I usually find that checking it in the front is the best, although AKC actually asks us to check it on various sides, make sure it's all going to be the same. But since I'm usually measuring the withers right here, that's the part that I really concentrate on to make sure this is just at the right side. The other thing is, you read from the top. And that's important because some people will try and read from the bottom, and that gives you an inaccurate. This style of wicket, you've got a screw here, and these things come out, and there's usually a screw on the bottom, and this one's nice and rusted together, so hopefully we don't have to mess with it. Some of them are very easy to turn. I have one measuring official friend, he actually brings a whole set of tools with him, and will fiddle with these things. I'm not that so mechanically inclined.
I think that friend has been here.
Yes. Yeah. But you really want to make it so that it's not going to be, you certainly want to tighten it because otherwise it will get out of whack. As I said, I just want to make sure that's it right at 12 inches.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay, I just have a question.
Oh, go ahead. What's your question?
If you have a dog that's very sensitive to strangers, can they ask you to like feed the dog first and become friendly with the dog
Certainly.
before they get measured?
Yep. My whole thing, part of the biggest problem we have with measuring is you have dogs who are nervous,
Yeah.
but more importantly, more worrisome is you have handlers who are nervous. And usually that nervousness of the handler goes right down the leash to the dog. And so when I have a dog, first thing is I will ask the dog and handler to come up on the table, and I want them to face usually away from the ring if possible, but somewhere where the dog actually can watch something else. And I want to get them on the table. Now getting them on the table actually might not sound like it, but it actually can be more of a problem than it is, especially border collies. Border collies will get on the table and jump off.
Yes.
Get on the table and jump off. Get on the table and jump off. So, I mean, I have to tell the owners, don't get frustrated about that. Just tell the dog, this is the game we're playing today. The game we're playing is get on the table. And usually they get on the table about the fourth or fifth time. Usually I'm able to grab the dog's collar and stop them from jumping off. And it works out. But many times handlers will get very frustrated about their dog not stacking on the table like it does at home. Well, this isn't home, this is someplace different. And dogs do not generalize as well as we humans do. So we have to tell them, come up here and get on the table. I come from a family that's Southern, but our family was not a big hugging family. So we didn't just all go up and hug each other. We would introduce each other to each other and say hi. It's the same I feel with dogs. So one of the things that I'm always very careful of when I'm going to measure a dog is I come up to the dog and introduce myself. I don't just immediately put my hands on the dog. I always try and let the dog sniff me. And then I'll slowly, especially if there's no problem, I don't see any reaction from the dog, I'll start petting the dog. This is totally before I'm trying to stack the dog or anything like that. I just want the dog to get as relaxed as possible. So I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to pet the dog. Okay? And then the other person I have to worry about in terms of getting calm is the owner. Because the owner is, I want to stack my dog, or I want to crouch, or do something. And they're usually very nervous often. And so what I try and do is, usually use humor to try and make them relax. So, I'll say, stand up straight, sit, stay. Many times they'll come, they'll want to feed their dog. I always say, well, you've got food, feed the dog some of that food because you've promised it, but then put the rest of the food away. Because you don't want to be feeding with food.
For the actual measurement.
For the actual measurement, it's actually, there's no real rule about that. It's the fact that if you have food in your hand, the dog's just naturally going to start stretching out for it. It's just going to change the measurement. It's going to change the stance.
But to relax the dogs before they get up on the table.
Yeah, if people want to feed their dog before it gets on the table, or when it's the first time it gets on the table, that's fine. But as I said, once I want to get started, I want them to put the food away. So I tell them, feed some food, you've promised it, because hey, if someone pulls filet mignon right in front of me, I want some of it before I go otherwise. And then I'll say, feed the food and then put the food away. Hello. How are you? Hi. I like licks. Yeah. Now, many times people will have big collars on them like this, which makes it actually hard to find the withers. And so I would need actually a better collar on with this one because it's hard to see. If they're wearing a harness, I'll ask them to take the harness off because I just want a regular one. And so I tell the handler, one of the things I want is a loose lead. Yeah, so give them a treat and then put the food away. Hello. Yeah. I'll remind the dog and handler that, you know, there are no shots involved with this procedure, no nails being cut, anything like that. And I basically just give the dog a nice little back massage. That's usually my way of doing it. Yeah. So then I start looking for the withers. So the withers are these two bony parts right at the top. And depending upon how much hair the dog has, you might have to dig through the hair to find the withers.
I think
there.
older dogs are easier. I mean, he's been handled quite a bit.
Yeah, well, dogs who've
Experience.
had experience, are better off than dogs who haven't.
So show us where those withers are.
Withers are right. It's more a thing by feel than it is you can actually see. But there are two pieces, and I'm basically going up the shoulder blades, and you want the very tips of those withers.
They kind of stick out, don't they?
They stick at the top. You can definitely feel them when you rub your hand against the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get the other hand in there. Hopefully by this time the dog is used to my touching him.
And are you caring about the feet at this point?
Not yet.
Just wanted to see where
Nope.
the withers are
I just want to see where the withers are.
and have him be comfortable.
Have him be comfortable. Come on up. Come on. Come on.
And if he isn't feeling it, he could do another treat.
Many times you'll sometimes get dogs who are stressed on the table. Sometimes I'll actually suggest to the owner, take the dog off the table and
Go take a
for a
walk.
little walk and come back. Front feet up here. That's right there. Okay, I'm looking for the withers. I'm going to want the handler to take their hands off the dog. Many times I'll put my finger through the collar just so that I have some control over the dog. I'll tell the handler to hold on to the leash because technically, according to AKC rules, dogs have to be on leash except when they're in the ring at the practice jump or in their crate. All right, and so when I've got where I figure with my left hand, I know where the two withers are. I'm still petting the dog. Now I'm going to start looking to see, is the dog stacked correctly?
Yeah.
Now, we do not want a show stack. What we want is just a natural stand on the dog. And the easiest way, especially if the handler has really pushed the dog's legs far out, the easiest way to get a dog to stand naturally, just pick up a paw and let the dog put it down. Because they'll put it down in a nice natural position. It doesn't necessarily have to be square. We're looking for a relaxed stand. The same with the head. We want the head to be at a relaxed angle, not up, down. Some handlers will try and help the dog's head go down. That just changes the angle of the withers and doesn't really help anything. Once I feel the dog is pretty good, I'll start waving the arm of the wicket. Some dogs react to it and want to see what I'm doing. But if not, then I usually will be able to get my hand over there. And my fingers are still on my left hand fingers are still right on that wicket. And I want to drop it so that it's right at the top of the wicket because those wickets are round and the natural inclination of the arm will be to slide down. So I'm going to look and I'm going to see what the measurement is. And I might do it a couple times just to sort of get an average, make sure I'm getting it right. Dogs tend to relax as the process goes on. And so you want them to be as relaxed as possible to get as accurate measurement as possible.
So his head's about at a 45-degree angle, right?
Yeah, his head's at a nice natural angle. That's what I'm looking for is natural.
Because for every breed, that could be different.
It can differ. And if you have a dog, especially a dog who's slumping a little bit,
Right.
Border Collies are notorious for that.
Collapsing.
Collapsing dogs. You just scratch them on their chest,
Okay.
things like that.
So if they dip their head, they're going to push their withers up.
One of the things that I do is when the handler, and I've got the dog in a position I like, which I think this dog's in a nice position, many times I'll tell the handler, take a step backwards. Hold on to the leash, take a step backwards. The dog will naturally look at their owner, and so the head goes into a nice natural position. That's all I'm really looking for, is a natural stand on the dog. Yeah,
Beautiful.
he's a good boy.
He is a good
So
boy.
now I get a measurement. If I've done that a couple times, I'm comfortable with the measurement, then I can actually say, your measurement is about 11 and a half. What's the measurement you got in your measurement
It was
form?
11.8.
Uh-huh.
Get up. Like, I don't
Says
care.
hi. So this is a dog that hasn't been measured before, right?
Byron, yeah. Come on up. Good girl.
Good
Now,
girl.
Turn around. This way.
But a happy girl.
Put your paws here. Palms up.
There we
Hello.
go.
Way.
Thank you very much for helping us today.
Sure. Way.
All right. Walk right in front of the dog, please. Now, there's actually, when I'm doing a measurement, I don't want the handler to be touching the dog at all. I do know that there's another measuring official who actually has the handlers put their hands right around the face of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason, because that particular measuring official actually had a dog whip around and bite him.
Oh.
So he's a little sensitive.
Paws up. There you go.
What do you do, Blair, if you hear a low growl?
I usually back off a little bit.
Back off.
I've only had maybe 2 dogs that, in looking back at it, maybe I shouldn't have gotten a measurement on them. I mean, literally in AKC, the measuring table is the first obstacle dogs have to pass to be able to run agility. So measuring officials can refuse to measure a dog. As I said, I've always been fortunate enough to get measurements on all the dogs. You know, some dogs really don't want to be petted,
Yeah.
and so you have to be careful about that. I mean, the owners usually will tell you, but I do actually have to touch the dog to find the withers. Now you need to hold. You got the leash. So now I've petted the dog. The dog is calm. Tail is wagging. I'm looking at to see is it stacking nicely. It's okay. It's all right. Yeah. Shouldn't have interrupted you.
Stand up.
It's okay. You can sniff that. It's not gonna hurt.
This way.
Take a step backwards. Hold your dog. Hold the leash.
Way.
Loose hand. Again, I found the withers. I'm going to put the measuring device right on the top of the withers. And look for that measurement.
Way.
And that dogs naturally will move their head around, looking at things. Sometimes I have to wait until they get their head in the position I want it. Like right now, it's not in the position I want. Now it's better. Sometimes I'll tell the handler to say the dog's name or just take another step backwards. And I usually want to bounce it on those withers 2 or 3 times just so I can get an average. And I'm really not so much an average, but I'm looking for the one that's sort of lowest, but just to make sure in case I didn't get if I have one that's really out of position, I'll try again. And before I call the measurement, I usually double check to make sure the feet are in a good position. The dog is square. So this dog's 20 inches.
That's what we got at home.
And she jumps. What's her best? Personal best?
21.
She
Sometimes
is
I get
a
kissed by
love.
dogs.
She's love.
I actually like dogs, which surprises people. You know, after being judged for so long.
You should like dogs.
I should like
You like dogs.
I should like dogs.
Emma, stay.
let her sit for a minute. Relax. My personal record on measuring a dog is 45 minutes.
45 minutes? Wow.
It was a Sheltie. I didn't have anything to do, so it wasn't any rush for me to go somewhere. I was an exhibitor at that trial. And finally what happened, the way we finally got a measurement on that dog is, it turned out that the handler was just making the dog nervous.
Okay.
And so what we did is we asked someone else to hold the dog. And
Wow.
that was the secret sauce that did it.
Wow. That's good. That's very good
Yeah.
wisdom there. Because we often don't have that much time at dock diving. I mean, it's like they show up, you got to get them measured, and you got to get them in line. And
Put your dog more square facing that way.
yeah.
I try to let the handlers position their dogs first before I will step into
Yeah.
step.
Yeah.
Put the food away. No food. Sometimes I'll have to stick my hand underneath,
Kind of pop them back up.
pop
Yeah.
them back up. Again, I've been petting the dog. I've been using my left hand to find those withers. Okay. Dog is standing nicely. I'm going to wave the arm across. Dog's not showing any reaction to the arm. Slowly drop it.
See what you get.
I'd call this at 15 inches.
No, up. Stay. Oh, there you go. Stay. Stay. Stay.
And a little hand on the collar helps a little bit.
Stay.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, you're going to need your hand in the collar, at least I find, because that's what I use to help me find the withers. Because you're going to need the right hand, unless I'm right-handed, to move the arm.
Right.
And so the left hand is what I use to help me find the withers. But mostly I'm using my right hand at this point just to pet the dog.
I usually take my thumb and go up the bone here, and then you can put your two fingers and you can feel it right
Yep,
there.
It's
Hey,
very...
the withers are right there, but you can, if you want to, you can do it this way, but if you stick your fingers right there, you can feel those two little bones that come up, right? Good job. Then, I'm gonna take this. Just get used to it. Here we got used to it last time. She's okay with that. Here's where that point was. She's nice and all firm, so have a visual mark.
Check her legs, make sure she doesn't. Right before I drop that wicket,
Before you drop it, okay.
I want to make sure she's in a good position.
Okay. She's kind of on her tips of her toes back here.
Yep. Well, as I said, pick her paw up and just let her drop it.
Okay.
And she'll drop it in a place that's...
Like that. Here. Here.
Dogs, as you do this measuring, like a second measurement will frequently be lower than the first measurement.
And is that because they're more relaxed?
Yep.
Okay.
They've gotten more used to the idea.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to measure a little squirmy thing. Hi, little squirmy thing.
Come here.
Little Miss Maggie.
As I said, I'm going to do everything I can that I've seen people do.
Okay, you're going to give me all that. Here's what people do to try and get their dogs to be a different measurement. Well, you're so little. You're so little. You obviously in dog dogs be a lap dog. Hi. So it's very clear that she's very friendly and she's not going to bite me.
I don't think she would.
No, I don't think you're going to bite me. No, I don't think so. Oh, goodness. Okay. So I'm going to have you sort of stand her over top of the bar. There you go. You're going to hang on to your leash. Good. Good. You're going to take your hands off. There you go. Then you're going to step out in front of your dog. And you're going to try and just be cool and calm. Cool and calm. Why don't you stand? That was on purpose.
Yes, I told you I'm going to do everything I can.
Very tricky. Very legal. And she's so little that this is like almost a problem for her. So I'm going to put her out this way. There we go. Okay.
Thank you.
So, you would think with because you have to be really fast, or maybe I need to be calm and slow.
Well,
She's
I
so
don't
little.
know. Yeah, some dogs are like this. They're
You
really.
are wiggly.
Wiggly.
You are the best wiggler there is. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Maggie.
Is that on your pedigree? Huh? Wiggliest? Oh. Wow. They're trying to make me. Oh, there it is. And are you pulling on that? Just trying to be a little loose with that leash. Okay.
Maggie. Hey, watch me. You got to do this sometime.
He's too hungry. You are the best. You're the best measuring subject. You're pulling on a leash. I'm sorry. I'm going in here. Hi, honey. Hi. You want to just take a step back and take a break? Well, I wipe the sweat from my brow. Hi. Hi. You're sneaky, but we can't measure you that. You're very tall. That's like a leaf pattern. A little strong leash.
Maggie. Watch me. Watch me. I'll show you
Huh?
first.
Sure. Yeah. Pull so hard. Got the letters right here.
Maggie. Yeah, it's hard, but really, really.
Yeah. Press it right on those two bones. I got 8.5. Is that about right?
Most of my dogs are like,
Yeah.
I'll give you another
It
one.
was a very wiggly 8.5.
I'm sure. And that's why you see some measuring officials just drop the wicket
Yeah.
and say, the measurement is, and they will eyeball it
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, what I wanted to do with the big dogs is, because I have this shelf here, a lot of times I'll take it and put this up here so I can not have to deal with it moving around. And then it's real easy for me to kind of just slide it and move it around, not just use this.
Whatever, I mean, there are
Yeah.
different ways, different,
Absolutely, yeah.
so whatever you're comfortable with.
And I don't know. I mean, I've played around with it as far as which direction they should face, and they feel better having this towards their back. When it's an agility trial, yes. But when it's just like this, sometimes like it's better for them to be looking. You know, I don't know. I've played with it. Let's see.
Selection.
Hi.
She doesn't want to call it.
This is a different one.
This is a different dog.
Okay. I see her.
This is Freema.
Hi, Freema. I saw your name. I thought that's really cool. Where does the word Freema come from?
It's from a character
Uh-huh.
that was in a Dr. Who skit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was about Shakespeare.
It was about, of course it was about Shakespeare.
It was a Shakespeare episode.
Hi. Of course it was about Shakespeare.
The character's name is Freema. The actor's name is Jones, so Freema Jones. Freema, watch me.
See that thing? What is that? Yeah. Good girl. I'm kind of at an awkward angle here.
Yeah, you're very awkward.
I'm very awkward angle. Let me sit back here.
Especially with the small dogs, I actually find I have to move the wicket all the way
Further.
out,
Okay.
all the way to the edge because I want the dogs more at the edge.
Of the table.
Yeah,
Okay.
just making something to jump off.
Alright. Alright.
You're actually putting your left hand like almost underneath the collar, whereas I tend to put like my pinky.
Like this.
Yeah, just so that I can use the other fingers to feel
Scooch
feel
them in.
the for the withers.
So you can use the other fingers to go like this.
Yep.
Right? There's the bone. Here's the sun. And the fleetsies. Much perpendicular.
Freema, look at me.
I like that. So you have the pinky and the collar, and you can take your other two fingers and place them right on the two bones.
Right, and then when you put the arm down, you put it right on the withers.
9.5.
How much?
9.5.
Possible. She's a bit taller than her
She's a
sister.
bit taller than her sister. Yeah. Was that during the measurement? Okay. Let's try that again. See, girl. There's a good girl. So be a good owner. Hi. You were. I know. That was like clear. So if they bend down and look at the dog, that makes the dog's head point down.
Yep.
So
See, that's right.